The destruction of the human race did not begin with a weapon. It began with a whisper. Before the flood, before the giants, before the first drop of blood touched the earth, a single venomous shadow infiltrated paradise, and the crown of creation was shattered.
Episode 3: The Shattered Crown. The cosmic hierarchy was perfectly balanced. At the center of the material universe stood Eden, a dimensional nexus where heaven and earth overlapped. And ruling over this sacred architecture were Adam and Eve, biological masterpieces, clothed not in fabric, but in garments of shimmering divine light. But paradise had a trespasser. Lucifer, the fallen morning star, had lost his war in the heavens. Stripped of his throne, he now lurked in the shadows of the untamed earth, consumed by a venomous, absolute envy. He could not strike God, but he could destroy God's reflection. To infiltrate the sanctuary, the adversary did not come as a roaring dragon. He masked his terrifying intelligence inside a vessel. The ancient Hebrew texts call it the Nakash, the Shining One. It was not a common beast of the dirt. It was a hypnotic, mesmerizing entity, radiating a false, mesmerizing light. And it began to coil around the very roots of free will. Chapter 1: The Venom of Doubt. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil pulsed with a heavy, magnetic energy. It was the anchor of human freedom, the only place in creation where the dust could choose to disobey the divine. Eve stood before it, bathed in her own radiant aura. Then, from the twisting branches, the Nakash descended. The first attack in human history was not physical, it was psychological. The fallen prince did not force her. He simply planted a single, microscopic seed of doubt.
Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"?
It was a calculated distortion. Eve corrected the creature, stating the law. They could eat of anything except this one tree, or they would die. But the adversary smiled a cold, immortal smile. He delivered the most devastating lie ever spoken into the cosmos.
You will not certainly die. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God.
It was the exact same pride that cast Lucifer from the heavens. The promise of absolute autonomy, the illusion that the creation could become the creator. Chapter 2: The Anatomy of Sin. Eve looked at the tree. The fruit was not poisonous to the touch. It was beautiful. It was a doorway to forbidden architecture. The desire for wisdom, the desire for control, overwhelmed the memory of the Creator's voice. She reached out. The moment the fruit was taken, the frequency of the universe shuddered. But the fall of humanity was not complete. Eve turned and offered the forbidden matter to Adam. Ancient theology notes a chilling detail. Adam was not deceived by the serpent. He knew exactly what he was doing. He stood before his glowing bride and the cosmic law of his father. He had a choice. In an act of conscious, deliberate treason, the King of Eden chose the creation over the Creator. Adam took the fruit, and he ate. The rebellion of the stars had infected the dirt. Chapter 3: The Death of Light. The lie of the serpent was fulfilled, but in a twisted, horrific reality. Their eyes were opened, but they did not see godhood. They saw their own profound vulnerability. Instantly, the divine breath within their veins went cold. the shimmering, volumetric garments of light that had clothed them in glory, vanished, evaporated into the shadows. For the first time in their existence, the king and queen of the earth felt the biting chill of the physical world. They felt shame. They felt fear. They were completely, devastatingly naked. The magnificent beasts of Eden, which once bowed to them, now looked at them with alien, predatory eyes. Desperate, shivering in the sudden darkness, the fallen rulers tore leaves from the trees, trying to cover the gaping void where the light used to be. They ran into the dense thicket, hiding like prey.
Chapter 4. The Trial in the Shadows.
Then the atmosphere grew heavy. The sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day resonated like distant thunder. It was the sound of absolute justice approaching the crime scene. "Where are you?" the voice echoed. It was not the question of a blind God searching for lost humans. It was the demand of a father, forcing his children to face their treason. Dragged from the shadows, the trial began, and the defense was pathetic. Adam blamed the woman, and subtly blamed God for giving her to him. Eve blamed the serpent, but when the Creator turned his blinding presence toward the Nachash, he asked no questions. He handed down a curse that would echo across eternity. God declared a total, unending war between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. He looked at the fallen morning star, hidden in the dust, and spoke the first prophecy of the universe. "He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." Lucifer had won the battle, but God had just announced the final victory.
Chapter 5. The Flaming Sword.
Blood touched the earth for the very first time. To cover their physical and spiritual nakedness, God sacrificed an animal, wrapping his fallen children in coats of skin. A brutal, visceral reminder that the price of rebellion is death. The dimensional gates of Eden were sealed. Adam and Eve were cast out into the harsh, unforgiving wasteland of the cursed earth, to sweat, to bleed, and eventually to return to the dust from which they were carved. To ensure they could never return and eat from the tree of life in their corrupted state, God deployed his most terrifying guards. At the east of the garden, massive, multidimensional entities took their posts, the cherubim, and between them, a blazing, omnidirectional, flaming sword flashing back and forth, cutting through reality itself. Eden was locked. The crown was shattered. Humanity's long, dark exile had begun.